This little short video is going to run through the steps for naming a compound in which we have identified the first element as a group 1A, 2A, or 3A metal and some anion attached to it. Now that may be a single letter ion or maybe what we call a polyatomic anion, an anion that has more than one atom in there. Atoms of two different elements composing one anion. Alright, now again this applies only to the group 1, 2, and 3A metals. Alright, so make sure you can find those on your periodic table. Alright, the rule is pretty simple. Name the metal, name the anion, and stop. Do not put any Greek prefixes, no matter what the numbers, no matter what those little subscripts are. No Greek prefixes, no numbers, nothing. We name the metal with its real name. We look on our anion sheet and find the appropriate anion, and we write its name, and we are done. These are easy. Now the reason we're able to do this is that for our purposes, the group 1 metals, all right, the group 1 metals will form cations, right, that only have a +1 charge on them. So if you tell me lithium, I know that you're talking about a lithium atom with a +1 ion or charge on it. Okay? Now that'll come into play when we start trying to work backwards. When you tell me the name and we're going to try to write the formula, I'm going to have to know that. I'm going to have to be able to find lithium and know that it's in group 1, so it's got a +1 charge on that cation. If it's a group 2 metal, I know that that's only going to form a cation that only has a +2 charge on it. Right? Something with a +2 charge on it. Something like calcium. If you tell me calcium, I'm going to write calcium with a 2+ when it comes time to write the formula. I'm going to know that. And then for our purposes in here, what we're going to say is that for group 3 metals, they're going to form cations with only a 3+ charge. So that's why I know when you tell me something about an aluminum compound, I know that I'm looking at an aluminum with a 3+ as my base point to start with. Now, we've had some examples, and you know how to do this. Remember I had said earlier that there are 3 ways to name things, and you already knew 2 of them. One of those was this compound here, NaCl. You all knew somehow that the name of that was sodium chloride. You didn't know why, but now you do. Sodium is a group 1 metal, so it's only going to form a cation that has a +1 charge, so I know that. All right. And Cl, you now know from your anion sheet that the name of that's chloride, so we just write those as sodium, put a space there, write chloride. All right. It doesn't matter then what any other subscripts are in these kind of compounds. When I identify that first element as a group 1, 2, or 3 metal, I'm going to my rule. Name the metal, name the anion, stop. So when I see something like Rb2s, Rb is rubidium. It's over in group 1. That's fine. I'm going to just leave it right there. I'm just going to name it. And I'm going to name what's attached to it. The S is sulfide. Right? And it appears that I cannot write in a straight line. All right. How about AlBr3? Again, I look at the first element. Remember, we're just going to kind of break it apart right there. There's Al. That's a group 3 metal, so I'm going to name the metal as aluminum. I'm going to find the anion on my anion sheet and know that it's bromide, and I'm going to write that. I'm not going to worry about that there's 3 of them. We will learn how to rewrite that formula just looking at this name a little later. Okay? And then these drive chemistry students nuts because they want to tell me everything they can see in there, that there are 3 calciums and that there are 2 phosphates. So the rule is identify the first element, calcium. It's in group 2, so we're going to name it, and we're going to name the anion. Now, this is one of those that I've been kind of warning you about. This is a polyatomic anion. Polyatomic because it's got phosphorus and oxygen, and that is supposedly a P and an O, not a P and a lowercase. All right? But this is phosphate. Now, you need to be familiar with those on your anion sheet. All right? when you look at PO4 on your anion sheet, it's written as PO4, it's in parentheses, and it's got a 3 minus. First thing I want you to recognize is that PO4 is all one thing. That is phosphate. We'll worry about the 3 minus here in a little bit when we work backwards and go from the name to the formula. Okay? Group 1, 2, or 3 metal and an anion. Name the metal, name the anion, stop. So you need some practice, I think. So here are 7 this time to practice on. I want you to get out your periodic table, get out your anion sheet, put this on pause, write these down, take your time and name them, and when you're ready, you can take it off of pause and go straight to the 3rd slide that has our answers on it, and you can check your answers to see if you came up with the same ones that I did. So go ahead and put it on pause, write these out, and build up your confidence that you know how to do these. Okay, you're back. Here we go. CaO identified calcium as our first element. Capital letter, lowercase, that's our first element right there. Calcium, group 2, name the metal, name what's attached, went to my anion sheet and found O is oxide. Looked at the next one, MgS. Mg, uppercase, lowercase letter, first the symbol, found it in my periodic table in group 2 again, magnesium, and found S on my anion sheet as sulfide and named this as magnesium sulfide. All right, getting a little tougher. Sr, I2. Went to my periodic table, Sr, upper and lower case, that's my first element, found it, strontium, another group 2 metal. So the rule is name the metal, name what's attached. Iodide, that's what the I stands for, so we don't need to tell each other any more than that. Strontium iodide. All right, CS2O. All right, CS, found it in the periodic table in group 1, down near the bottom, cesium. So name the metal, cesium, name the anion attached to it, oxide. All right, now this one may have given us a little trouble, so we're going to take a little time on this one. But again, if I have to think about it, Rb, there's my first element, so the metal right here, the anion is right here. Now if you look at that, you see 2 capital letters, a C and an O with a 3 on it. All right? When we name that, we don't name each individual element. We have to recognize that that's another polyatomic anion. So we would name the metal, rubidium, right? It's over there in group 1, rubidium. And then on our anion sheet, we would look for CO3. And what we're going to find is something that looks like CO3 in parentheses with a 2 minus out there. Don't worry about the 2 minus right now. The CO3 is all one thing, carbonate. Now, the way chemists write that, what that means is there's only one carbonate anion there. We didn't put it in parentheses. If there had been more than one carbonate anion, we would have written something like CO3, and we'd have put a set of parentheses, and then we'd have put another number there to represent how many carbonate anions were in that formula. All right, how'd you do on this Ba, OH taken twice? All right, again, we read Ba, upper and lower case, identified that as barium in group 2. Barium, and went to our anion sheet and found OH in parentheses. Looked like OH, and it had a minus sign on it. Again, we were worried that its name is hydroxide, so we would name that compound barium hydroxide. And then how did you do on this one? Al2, SO3 taken 3 times. All right, Al, easy to find. We all, I hope, knew that was aluminum. It's a group 3 metal, so we name the metal. And then we're going to look for this SO3 polyatomic anion on our sheet and find out that it's sulfite. All right, now be careful. There's an SO4 on that sheet, and there's an SO3, and you have to pick the right one. This one is sulfate, ending in ATE, and this one is sulfite, ending in ITE. So make sure we pick the right one. This compound tells us that there are 2 aluminum atoms and 3 sulfite anions attached to that, but we Don't worry about those little subscripts. We write the name, we write the name. Write the metal name, write the anion name, and be done. All right. So now that you've reviewed that, now that you have a good handle on how to do that, you've got a practice worksheet in which you have someplace probably between 8 and 10 of these to practice on. So find the sheet that has group 1, 2, or 3 metals and an anion and go through that practice. Again, my recommendation is use your periodic table, use your inorganic nomenclature sheet, what I call the flow diagram, and your anion listings, and do that and see what you can do. Your answers are either in your course support material or posted there in Blackboard along with your worksheet. So go to it. A little more practice. Practice never hurts. We'll go on to the next video, which we'll talk about naming transition metals and anions.